Hey everyone, it's Desiree and welcome. I have something very special for a series. For this series, we are going to make a scrapbook album. I'm going to start out showing you the materials that we're going to use. And then we're going to, in this video, construct the album along with the hinge system and the basic page bases. The collection that I'm going to be using is by Paper Rose. And it's a main collection, and then I'm throwing in some other items here. So this is the Candy Kisses collection. I have it both in the 12 by 12 and the 6 by 6. And let's page through that. And before I page, I'm also using the Candy Kisses Basics collection. That, of course, goes with it, again, in the 12 by 12 and the 6 by 6. So let's look at our 12 by 12 papers. Now, if you notice, too, when you go on to the Paper Rose site, they have recently released another collection called Candy Kisses, and it is absolutely wonderful as well. So you could choose either or. I'm actually going to be focusing on the original one. So let's look at the main collection first. So here's our cover, which can certainly be used. We can cut some of these cut aparts out. We can also use this strip. I like to use as much as I can. And for this one, we have some great sentiments. So if you're that card maker, this would be perfect for them as well. You get two collections or two sheets of each of the 12 designs. And it's printed on 200 GSM paper. So here's our first one. Again, more cut aparts that we can use. And then that is our background. Cute little cups with roses. I thought it was absolutely adorable. Here is our second sheet. This is the back or the front, however you want to look at it. Beautiful roses. And then this is our front with a beautiful design and a curtain or a sheer with a table of all of the sweets. Some more cut aparts, and then that is our backing for that one. Some beautiful stripes. I like the way that they are distressed. Look a little vintage. We have this one as well. So we have a banner of roses, and then we have a base, and then our back are more sweets. Here is another full page. We've got a little bit of a brick background, and we have some corners, and then the base again, and that is what our back looks like there. We have this adorable page with the cute little bug van and some roses. We have a corner set of roses, and then we have this corner little shop. So it's great if you cut this at 6 inches, you'd be able to get 2 panels here, and then we have on another panel here that would fit great on a 5 by 7 card. And then that is what the back looks like of that of 2 different vehicles. So that is the main collection for Candy Kisses. Now let's look at the basics. So what's nice with what Paper Rose has been doing is they have the main design, the one like I just showed you, with scene elements that can be used for your albums, and then they design backgrounds, basics, which I think is perfect when you get into the inside of your album. But again, we can use this piece here, we can use this strip, and then on the other side of this we have more sentiments. And it's the same thing here. You get 12 double-sided pattern papers, and you get 2 of each of the 12 designs. So here we can get 2 different looks depending upon how we cut it. And then the other side is some really pretty green polka dots. This one here, we have a great textured brick wall, and then some great stripes. Here we have just another style background, similar to one of the pages in the main collection. And then we have a green stripe for the backing. A blue stripe panel. And again, I like the faint texture that's going across these with some pink polka dots or white polka dots on pink. A smaller rose pattern with green stripes. We have some blue stripes with some white polka dots on that same shade of blue. So that is the Basics collection from Paper Rose. And then we have both of these 6x6s. So again, we have the main collection, and then we have the Basics 6x6. So again, our 6x6, we have some cut aparts, and we have 3. For this, you get 18 double-sided pattern papers, and you get 3 of each of your designs here. So that's the back of that. So the patterns are going to be similar to the large 12x12 pages. They're just scaled down, which is nice. Here we're also getting some sentiments that are great for cards. So there are slight differences between the 12x12 and the 6x6. That same large pattern with the faint brick. And then there's that pattern again. We've got that adorable little bug with the shop up in the corner and the different vehicles. And then our banners. And then more sweets. So that's, again, the main 6x6. And then for your basics, the same thing. So 18 double-sided pattern papers, 3 of each design. So we have this, and again, your 6x6 are going to scale down the designs so you can get, even though they're the same papers, you can get different looks based on how your album or you want your card to look like. So just something to keep in mind when we're looking at our pattern papers. All right, so those are the papers that we have and that we will be using. Let me get these packed away. And then they have lots and lots of what I'll call ephemera. Now, what's great is this is called Candy Kisses, and I have pulled in different types of ephemera and die cuts. So this here, again, the original sets, Candy Kisses, both embossed die cuts. Now, this is my packaging. I always open it up and put these in these little envelopes or envelopes. So here for the Candy Kisses, I have cut aparts and I have the embossed die cuts. Now, you don't need both per se, okay? You can choose one or the other. Your cut aparts are just that. You need to cut them apart. So if you love fussy cutting, this is for you. Now, these are 18 single-sided sheets, and you get 3 of each of the 6 designs. So there's our cover. So here we have that, and they're beautiful images, just absolutely gorgeous. And I know it says Candy Kisses, but this just screamed Christmas for me. I just really loved the look. And again, these are ones that you do have to cut apart yourself, do your fussy cutting. But I just do think that these images are very beautiful, very detailed. They almost look 3D, and you can see we're getting into the duplicates now. So lots of ephemera. Again, great for your albums, great for your cards. And then these are the embossed die cuts. Now, what's great with these are you get 4 A5 sheets of embossed pop-out die cuts. So these will pop out. You do not have to fussy cut, but they also have this clear raised embossed areas on them. So they give you a little bit of texture for each of the designs, but this does eliminate the need for fussy cutting. And the images are close, but there are definitely differences when it comes to those images. So we will be using these throughout. And again, I take them out of the packaging, I pop them out, and then I put them in these envelopes that I get for future storing, because I know I won't use them all, and I will definitely want to hold on to these. Now, also in the Candy Kisses line, available are 3D or chipboard pieces. So these are stickers. They will pop out. They are thick chipboard pieces. So you've got a film strip, you've got a panel here. This is multiple panels in here, a ticket, an arch, a border. We've got a couple tags or a few tags, a single film strip, another panel, a circle with a circle inside. So some great choices for that to really add some dimension onto your pages and your album, because I do like to leave a nice gap in between each of them. They also have washi, and this will be, there are 3 sheets in this collection, if I can get them out. So here we have some great stamps, some tags, some little pieces of ephemera, a little note page. And what's great is these are washi. Always be careful when we tear things, so bend your page. So it is a washi-like material, which I love. And then again, we have some washi strips that we can use through our piece. And they've got some good stickiness to them, if that's a word. Lots of hearts, but I do like to add just a little bit of glue underneath just to make sure they stay, and that's with any washi, but these are pretty sticky. And then in the Candy Kisses collection, we have Cardstock Stickers. So for this, excuse me, we get 3 sheets of these as well. These are more matte, but again, they are cardstock, not chipboard, so they're a little thinner or a lot thinner, but they are stickers. And we will definitely be working with these as well. Some great detail going across here with some tags, some sentiments. And then we've got some notes, some tabs, more hearts, and more little tickets. So some great designs going on here. And again, they will come in a different packaging. I always either repackage my items, or these were actually prototypes. So sneak peek. I'm also pulling in ephemera from other collections that they have available. This one here is from Candy Treats. Again, cut aparts and embossed die cuts. I just felt that they were very similar to the look that we've got going on, and I think they just added a little bit more color. It's not so much pink and red and white or ivory, however you want to call that color. But you can see we've got more colors. I will be pulling in solid cardstocks in craft, black, red, pink, and white, possibly. And then, as with the other, there's the cut apart, so you're fussy cutting these. And then here are the pop out embossed die cuts. And again, 4 A5 sheets. And again, they have that little bit of embossing on them, clear embossing, just to give them some texture and some beautiful depth. But these are just absolutely gorgeous. They come in so many different sizes and shapes and images. I thought that they would just fit very well with this collection that we are going to put together. I'm also going to pull in candy florals. Again, they have cut aparts, some beautiful images. And again, it's 18 single-sided sheets, 6 different designs, and you get 3 pages of each of the designs. So great. Some great storefronts, some great bouquets, but lots of different images to play with for these to add some interest to our album. Now, I don't know if I'm going to use all of these, but I like options. I like choices. So I do tend, when I choose a collection, to get the majority of the elements and add a few more in at the same time. We can mix and match. Why not? Let's have fun with it. And here are these embossed die cuts. Again, with that clear embossed raised areas on the images. Again, florals, windows, storefronts. Lots and lots of choices. And then finally, I found this one-off of just embossed die cuts, and this is called the Candy Rose collection. Again, my packaging. And they will come in 4 sheets that you can do all of the popping out. So all kinds of fun with these. A little bit deeper in color. I think these will add some great interest to our piece because they are just that little bit darker of the color scheme that we are using here. So that's pretty much the main collection, the Candy Kisses. And then the other pieces that I'm going to pull in when we start to embellish and decorate and put all of our pieces together. But what I want to move into now is we're going to make our album. Yes, we are going to construct our own album for our scrapbook. And for that, I'm going to need chipboard. This is medium weight chipboard. Now, you can use a cereal box if you want, but it is going to be a little bit flimsy. This has some nice sturdiness to it, and you want that when it comes to this style of an album. You can also use the back if you love Canson XL watercolor paper or their Bristol. The backings of those watercolor pads are great. They are nice and thick. So you do want something a little bit sturdier. I'm going to be using 65-pound cardstock to construct our hinge. I'm going to be using 2 sheets of 12 by 12, To wrap our album, this is also 65 pound, or you can use 3 sheets of 8.5 by 11, whatever you have. I'm going to be using my liquid glue. Okay, you do want something that is acid free. All right, you want something that's going to work well with paper. I do like using this or a good PVA glue. You'll see me use both. And then we're also going to use some double-sided tapes. One's going to be in 2 inches and another one is going to be in 1/2 inch. All right, so gather up your supplies and let's get started. Okay, let's grab our chipboard. You're going to need 2 pieces cut 8 by 8, and you're going to need 1 piece cut 3 by 8. So 3 inches wide, 8 inches high. These 2 pieces are 8 inches wide, 8 inches high. Here I'm going to pull in. I'm using 12 by 12. Again, you can use 3 pieces of 8.5 by 11. And what I want to do first is I want to add a strip of double-sided tape, 1/2 inch, down one side. This is the tape that I'm going to use. And I'm going to put this close to the edge of the paper. I want that right up along the edge. I try not to go over the edge. So what I do is when I pull this out, you can see I'm up here, and then I start sliding it down to the edge of the paper. I'm going to real quick grab a little tiny acrylic block. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the edge. I like to pull in just a piece of my acrylic block, put that up to the edge, and then tear along that. I tend to rip the paper by just using my fingers, and it just causes all kinds of problems. I'll take the acrylic block and just make sure I burnish that down. It's also good to have a bone folder when you're making one of these, because you can use that as well. So I'm going to line this up on my mat, and I'm just going to put a little piece of tape down up in this corner here, because then I know it's going to stay in place. And I'm going to add another one. Again, we wish we had 3, 4 hands, but we don't. I'm then going to remove my release paper. And I'm going to add a little bit of glue on this as well. When I construct my album, I really want to make sure that there is a good contact. I want this to be very strong. It's going to be used. It's going to be opened. Just making sure that we've got this double contact. And I'm using the line for my 1/2 inch. What's also nice with this is it stays upside down. I'm going to grab my other sheet of 12 by 12, and I'm going to place it down along the edge at the 1/2 inch mark. Again, angling it and then coming up. And then when I lay it down, I'm matching up my 1/2 inch at the top as well. I'm then going to press down. It's okay that we get some glue coming out. I'm going to use my nail to clean that out. And then I will come in with my bone folder to just press that down. And again, my nail just comes in. You could use a very damp cloth just to wipe that away. And now we have our base our cardstock base ready for our chipboard panels. Now I'm just going to real quick look at this to make sure I don't have any glue coming out there. Okay, so we are ready to layer up our pieces. What I like to do is take this line. Now, I know that this is a 1/2 inch. This line here and this line here. It's a 1/2 inch gap. And I do like to line it up on my mat because I want this to be in the middle of my spine. Okay, so these are just the things that I think about when it comes to constructing my album. So again, I'm just going to put a piece of repositional tape up there and one down here. I know they're going to be out of the way. I want to prepare my pieces. And this is where my 2-inch wide double-sided tape comes in. Now, I get this from Uline. It is very strong. It is very unforgiving, meaning it'll stay down. It will stay down. Once it touches, there's no coming back. And I'm just going to cut some small pieces and put them in the center. I don't want to go edge to edge. Now, some people do, and that's fine. Again, the beauty of being creative and creating our art is we all do it differently, and we develop our own ways. For these pieces here, I also do a double-sided tape and also glue combination for each of these. So I'm going to set that one aside, and I'm going to do the same thing for the 8x8, and I'm just going to get those ready. And I am just eyeballing the pieces that I'm cutting and just, you know, kind of keeping my fingers crossed that I'm not going to go over the edge. But I don't want to completely cover. I just have never felt that that's necessary. But I know this is going to hold my sections in place as we maneuver this to get our album together. All right, so now I have 2 more. And our last piece. And this is really the only time that I use my 2-inch wide double-sided film tape. So I'll set that aside. I am going to come in with my bone folder and really burnish this down onto my chipboard so that I know I have a good contact with that side. You always want to burnish your pieces when you use double-sided tape, just to make sure that it's making contact and that it's down there. Okay. The first piece I'm going to start with is the spine. So I'm going to set these off to the side here. And what I'm going to do is I am going to grab a ruler. And I'm using my clear Tim Holtz ruler. And I'm just going to come up just a little bit. And I'm going to line up this center line along this paper edge. I'm going to grab my pencil and I'm going to draw a line. This is going to be to the inside, so it's not anything that is going to be seen. But that line helps me to get my chipboard piece straight. And we're going to start with the spine. Also going to take my ruler. And I know my spine is 3.5. And remember, I've got my center half crossover sitting here. So that's 2 inches. That's sitting here. And then I know if I go 3/4 out and then 3/4 out again. So if I line this up here onto the side of the 0, I know from here to here is my 1/2 inch overlap. So if this is my 1/2 inch, we know here that here and here is 2. And I need another 1.5 inches, so that's another 3/4. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to add 3/4 in here. So I know now that this is centered, and will be centered once I get in. And if I put my spine in there, that is the edge of my spine. So I'm going to take my ruler, and I'm going to line it up on this line. And I'm just going to continue that line down. Again, all of this is not going to be seen, which is wonderful. So now, when I place this, I have a guide. And I know that this is going to be straight. Is it going to be perfect? Not necessarily. It doesn't have to be. It's okay. Now, if your pieces are looking like this, yes, that could be an issue. But we won't do that. I'm going to remove the release paper. I'm going to do that off to the side here. And I'm going to add my glue again. And my glue is going to go around the outside where the double-sided tape is not. And you can see I'm not using a lot, but I am making sure I'm going up to that edge. I'm going to go in between. And then I am going to go over the double-sided tape. This will allow me a little bit of wiggle room because the glue is going to slide where the tape is. So I'm going to grab this, I'm going to put that down in my corner, and I'm going to set that down now. Now, no, the line is not going down the center of the spine, but the crossover is, and that's what I want centered. So if you're looking at that and saying, okay, that line on the other side not being in the center might make you a little concerned because it's not in the center, you can certainly put it there. It's totally your choice. Now I'm going to remove my tag, and I like to use a brayer to actually roll up onto my pieces as I get them down to get that glue to flatten out, and just to make sure we've got good contact. So a brayer is great for many reasons. Now it's time for our sides. We still have our line down here, which will guide us. Now, there are many ways to put your sides together. You can create a template because you want to have a gap in here. You want to make sure you have that gap. I'm going to do the same thing though. I'm going to get my release papers off. And I'm going to add my glue. Same thing. I'm going to start where the double-sided tape is not. I'm just going to swirl around. Again, you don't need a lot of glue. When you use a lot of glue, glue is water-based. Now, there are glues out there that are not. They are alcohol-based. I use those for fabric. But for the most part, glues have a water component. And when you add a lot of glue, that water is going to go in your paper. And that's what causes the warping. So when you use a little bit of glue, you're not going to have that too much. Now, I'm going to move this because that's upside down. Now, I eyeball this. You can certainly use this ruler. It's definitely thick enough. But I do just eyeball this, and I'm lining it along that line. We can put this on the flat side and put that there. But I like to go about just a scant, just under 1/4 of an inch. You can also take your spare pieces of this chipboard, glue them together, and that would be the perfect width as well. We need this gap because we want to make sure that it'll fold. If we don't have this gap, and if we butt this right up to the side there, it won't be able to fold. It won't be able to open and close. I'm going to push that down, and I'm going to come in with my brayer. And again, just putting the pressure down to get that glue to go side to side, to flatten out, and have all of its fun. We're going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to remove the release papers. And I'm going to remove these pieces of tape as well. You can see it's great repositionable paper. We're going to add our glue, and because this is an 8x8 panel, I don't have to worry about which is my top, which is my bottom. It is a square piece. Again, we're just adding our glue along the side, getting as close to the edge as possible, coming down the center. And then we're going to add glue down onto the double-sided tape. Going to flip this over, and we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to use that line as my base. I keep it angled. This side is up so that it's not touching, so that I can say, okay, this is about the same. That's about the same. You can see I'm able to wiggle this still. And we're going to commit. And once again, we're going to come in with our brayer. And I'm going to look at the other side. It's nice and flat. There's no puckering. There's no nothing, because we didn't use a lot of the glue. So something to keep in mind. All glues have a water base, except for the few. Some are alcohol. But the more glue you put down, the more puckering you may have. So here is the base and the start of our album. So it's going great. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to trim all around my album now. So yes, there is always some waste when it comes to creating an album. Now, you don't have to trim this. You could just take these and fold these in and all of that. But I do just like to have 1.5 inches going around my chipboard before I wrap. So I do pull in my ruler with the cutting edge and an X-Acto knife. And I line this up just along my chipboard. and I just cut the excess away. Now for this, I'm going to do this a little bit on an angle. And I'm going to start up here. So again, I'm just leaning it against my chipboard. Watch your fingers. Go slowly. Hold your ruler down. And then I'm going to slide my ruler. Just add a little bit of pressure. You want your X-Acto knife to be sharp. You should not work with a dull X-Acto knife. That's where issues can happen. So we have that piece, and now we're going to do the same thing to the other side. So again, just putting that right up on the edge. I'm going to start sliding down. I'm going to start moving that. I'm going to continue. And we'll do that. For some reason that was shifting, but that's okay. Probably because I was doing it on the angle. Always go, you know, try to not come towards you, but it is more comfortable for me to do that. Okay, I'm going to close this up. I'm going to grab my scissors, and I'm going to cut out the corners. Now, I eyeball this as well, but you want to keep a gap off of your corner. So I'm going to come straight across, and it can be angled a little bit, but you can see that little, it's like 1/8 of an inch. I always leave that on each of my corners, and we're going to do that to all 4. And we can just go straight. I mean, you can come down like this. When you get to the point, then angle yourself out again if you want. There's many ways to do this. I'm going to come down again, leaving that 1/8 of an inch. There are tools out there too that can help you with this. Now we have our base ready, and now we're ready to wrap it. We're going to start enclosing this, bringing in these edges. We have to train paper. Yes, we control the paper. So what we're going to do is we're going to lift this up, keeping it straight, and we're going to bend it. And we're just going to slowly pull this towards us to get those papers to know this is how I want you to bend. Again, just lifting it up, keeping it straight, taking our time, lifting it up, and just getting that little bit of a bend started on all 4 sides. Again, we're going to do this on this side. I don't want to hit my camera, so I apologize if I do. And then we're going to do this last one. Just bring it up, keeping it straight. Okay, so now we've got them started. On each side, I'm going to add a strip of double-sided tape right along the edge. Doesn't have to be as close as what I had it before for the cover, but I do want it close. And I'm just going to put this along. This just helps to keep those edges in once they're placed inside. So all 4 corners, we're going to do that. And again, I pull in my acrylic block to tear it. You can use all kinds of different things for that. You can use a pair of scissors to cut it. And this is tearable tape as well. But, you know, there are times where I just get a little carried away. We're going to put that down there. And again, we're going to burnish. We want to make sure that we burnish all of our sides. Make sure we get it into that crevice of the papers crossing over. You're going to do a lot of flipping of our album cover. And now we're going to start pulling in. I like to do the top and the bottom first and then pull the sides in. So let's remove our release paper here. Grab our glue. And I like to go into this corner. Just like that. And then come out along the area without the glue. I like to put a bead of glue right along that chipboard. Because we are going to wrap around that chipboard. I'm going around that corner. And again, not a lot. And then I'm going to come up and go over that double-sided tape. I'm going to start bending this, and with my thumbs, I'm pushing up against that chipboard piece. It'll push away from you. I'm using these fingers to hold it down, but I'm just slowly going across the side, and I give it multiple passes so that eventually I push down. And that's where the double-sided tape comes in, because it gives you that instant grab so that this would not continue to flip up on you if you just use glue. Now, can you just use glue? Absolutely. I'm going to come in with my bone folder, and what I'm also going to do is push down next to the chipboard. I just want to push down, push that paper down into that corner. I'm going to see if I can push this up. So I'm taking my bone folder along the edge of that paper, and you can see I folded it down around it, and that's what you want to do. All right, and that's what I do for each side. But right now, I'm going to start now with the top, or now the bottom, and do the same thing. I'm going to remove the release tape, grab my glue, get my glue on that corner, get glue along the chipboard edge, go around, fill in, and come across the double-sided tape. And we're going to train our paper again. We're going to use our thumbs. We're just going to push across. Don't let your album get away from you. You want to do this slowly. This is not, we're not at the races. This is not a race. Take our time. And now we're going to push it down. And then I start from the center. And I continue, start from the bottom, and I push up. You can see I'm coming in on that angle. Bottom and pushing up. Now I'll bring in my bone folder. Come across. Push down along the edge. And push down on that edge. And now we're going to do the sides. And it's the same process. It's just nice and short. Except this time we don't have to go around the corner. We're just going to go right over top that fold. Go down the side, And as you keep going back and forth, you're pushing the paper over more and more until finally, you know, start from the center, push down. And that double-sided glue grabs it. And because we had that little bit of overhang in the corner, we've got a nice mitered corner on the other side. If something's sticking out a little bit, you can trim it. But I like to keep at least 1/8 of an inch there. You can have more if you want. It can be a bigger area. And usually that does work better when you have that area a little bit bigger. And again, we're just working that paper, telling it which way we want it to go. We're angling our hand over so that it knows this is what she's going to do. And then I start in the center and I push down. And I always come from the bottom to make sure that we've got a good wrap around our chipboard. I push it over to the other side just to look at my edges, and we've got nice clean edges as well. No trimming. And that's basically the base of our album. But we need to get it to fold up. So I love this bone folder. It is my favorite, but it's got a nice point to it. I mean, it's not pointy like a pokey tool, but it's got some good sharp points. So I have this one. It's a little bit thicker. It's not as sharp. It's not going to cut into the paper. Remember, we've used 65-pound paper here. So what we want to do is take our bone folder, and I take the side and I put it into in between my two pieces of chipboard, of the spine and the cover. And I just go back and forth, and you can see this wants to come up, and that's a good thing. And then the same thing here. We're going to do that here. I just take it back and forth to get it to say, okay, this is what we're going to do. I then hold on to this, and as I lift slowly the cover, we're lifting slowly. I am taking my bone folder back and forth until it gets caught in there, and then I remove it, and I just continue to slowly lift this and fold her. I do not bring her flat. I bring her about 45 degrees, and then I'll lay her back down. Now we're going to do the same thing on this side. And again, we take our time. This is paper. It will tear. So just take your time. Once you're at 90 degrees, take your bone folder away, and then just slowly keep folding her over. You'll hear some cracks, maybe. That could be the glue. That could be the paper. But you should have no resistance when you do this. If you do, that might mean that you have these pieces too close together. So I like to say 1/4 of an inch. That's my gauge. And there you go. We have our album all set and ready to go. Congratulations. Now let's work on our hinge. Our hinge system is what's going to hold our pages that we flip. And that's this piece here. But we've got to prep this just a little bit before we put this in our album. So, and I'm getting my notes together because there are lots of score lines that we put on this page. Okay, sorry about that. Our hinge piece, like I said, is 7.5 by 11, and it takes the whole piece. Now, you could also use a 12-inch long piece as well. And if you go over a 3.5-inch spine, you will need a 12-inch length. I do not recommend joining papers like we did for our cover, because there's a lot of weight that's teetering on this hinge. So if you have to go larger than a 4-inch wide spine, or if you are, I would recommend going into a 12-inch. It just gives you that added inch when it comes to your hinge. Now, there are others that make wider spines, and they will show you the wonderful way to do it. I don't trust myself. Yes, it's me. Once we have our piece in, we are going to create this. This is what we want to create. So you can see we've got a starting point, we've got a mountain, we got a valley, mountain, valley, mountain, valley, mountain, and then we continue on. All right. These are the hinges, the mountains. The valley is the space in between the pages. So this is what we want to create for our 3.5-inch spine. What works for me for that is scoring at every 3/4 of an inch. We're going to start at 1.5, and we're scoring along the 11-inch side. So starting at 1.5, we're going to go to 2.25, 3, 3 3/4, 4.5, 5.25, 6, 6 3/4, 7.5, 8.25, 9, and 9 3/4. Those are all the scores that we need. So it doesn't give us much of an overhang, but it gives us enough. It's what we need. All right, we are done with our scoreboard. Now let's do our folds. This piece is flat. These two pieces here are flat on our album. So I'm going to fold that up. This, we need a mountain. So I'm going to fold that up, pinch it, and push down, and fold it down. I'm going to skip this one and go to the next two. I'm going to pinch them up, start flattening down, fold it over again. So now I've got my two peaks. I'm going to skip this one, come to the next two, create the mountain, push down to the score line, and fold it back on itself. So now we have 3. We have 3 mountains and 2 valleys. Skip this one, pinch in between, and pushing down, folding back, and now we have our 3 or our 4 hinges that we need. You can see that when we look at our album, and you can see I could just grab it like that, it's flat. When we grab our album, when I place this in here, it fits perfectly in the inside of that. We've got the overhang coming over our fold in our album, but this will sit perfectly in the center and have the same distance between the two covers. And that's what your goal is. Now, this could be smaller if you want it. Okay, it's totally your preference. So let's get this set up so that we can get this into our album. Okay. I'm going to flip this over, and we're going to start adding our 1/2 inch double-sided tape. So on the pieces going on our album, I'm going to put one on the outside, the very edge. And you want to make sure that you are using a good double-sided tape. I am a fan of, excuse me, score tape. I'm going to put another piece just under the score line and cut that off. I am now going to put, I'm going to focus on the tops, and I'm going to go right up to that one score line, and I'm going to go to the other side. I want it as close to the score line along the base of the hinge. So this is the base. So this is going to go like that. It will make sense as we continue. I know this is my valley because of the way that it's bent. I'm going to take another piece right up to that score line. That's my valley. Here's my mountain. I'm going to take another piece right up to that score line. And then for our last mountain, again, right up to that score line. I need to hold this differently. I'm breaking my tape. There we go. All right. I'm going to turn this around, and I'm going to add my two pieces again. So I'm going to come down. I'm going to take that right to the edge because I want this really strong and secured inside there. And then we're going to take another one right up on that side as well. All right, so what I'm doing here is I'm just building the hinge. I want to get the hinge formed. I'm going to burnish all these down. And I'm going to remove the release papers on the mountains. So this was a mountain. I'm going to close it. I'm going to remove this one, and I'm going to close it. I'm going to remove this one, and I'm going to close it. You don't need glue on these. Remove the release paper, and I'm going to close it. Because this tape is strong, and that's why I do highly recommend it. And now I'm just going to take my bone folder and just push this down. I'm going to turn her around, and I'm going to flip the hinges. And we're going to do the same thing. And you can see she's now taken shape. They're glued together. She's all good. And now I'm going to add to those valleys, those flat parts, I'm going to add a single piece of score tape right down the center. And again, we're going to burnish those down. And we're pushing down on those score lines as well. So when you do that, all of these are laying this way. So now you want to take them and fold them this way. And do the same thing. You're working that paper to flip, to turn, to go back and forth. And you can see it, she's getting flatter and flatter. And that's what you're looking for. You want this to be a turning or a flipping mechanism. Excuse me. Before we get this into our album, I'm going to add strips of my double-sided tape to each of my hinges on each side. And I want to add it to the very top, just along that top edge. I don't care if it goes over a little bit, that's okay. But I'm going to do it to one side. And then I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to do it to the other side. And this is what we're going to use to attach our pages. We will be getting into our page construction in our next video. I almost cut that. And basically it's a page that just wraps around. It's like a tube that we're going to create. I'm going to fold these now the other way, and I'm going to do the same thing. I want to go right up to that edge. I'm basically leaving 1/4 of an inch on the bottom. And that's actually going to help us when we go to put our pages on our hinge. All right, our third one. But you just want to get it as close to the top as you can. Run it right along there. And we're going to burnish. So you can see, yes, you do go through a lot of tape when it comes to a lot of double-sided tape when it comes to the construction of your album. Some people just use glue, and that is okay. Me, it's again, everything is always a personal choice. It's always a preference. I just want to make sure that everything is going to be secured. By the time we're done all of that, you can see the hinge is now flat onto my surface. It's not buckling anymore. She's now flat. That means that these are very, what the technical term is, wiggly. Okay? Let's grab our album. And I do this by eye. So remember, this is 7.5. Our album is 8. For my hinge system, I always go 1/2 inch shorter than what the height is of my album. Since this is 8, we are at 7.5. These flaps can come out as far as you want them. Mine, in this case, are coming out about, I'm going to say, about 5/8 of an inch to 3/4, possibly. All right, now I do this by eye. I'm going to remove all the release papers. Stuff is very, very sticky. I'm going to put my hand in there. And hopefully that'll save me from sticking to this. A pokey tool is your friend when removing your release papers. It's easy to clean. There we go. And I am going to come in with my glue. So the hinge is great because you can put your hand right in there. I'm going to grab my glue. I'm going to go down the areas that doesn't have any adhesive. I'm going to go around the outside. I'm going over the double-sided tape. I'm going to go right at those creases. And because I'm going over the double-sided tape, it's going to allow me to have a wiggle period. so that I can make sure that I get this as close to the center as possible. It does not have to be perfect. You can measure, you can mark things off if you want, if you choose. I don't choose to do that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the outside and I just angle it just a little bit like this. I get up on my tippy toes and I'm just going to eyeball the center. I'm looking at the top and the bottom. I know it's about 1/4 of an inch. And I'm going to commit to that. And we press down. This is where your bone folder really comes in. You're really going to push that down. I'm going to come in with the one with the softer sides. And go into the valleys there. And just push that down. I'll come in at the point and just push that down. Again, just working this paper, but don't use a lot of pressure. You will go through the paper, but you just want to make sure that the tops and the bottoms are closing up. That glue's getting in there. We want to score. Just go along that edge where it folds. Get that started. You can see she wants to start lifting. That's a good thing. Go along that edge again. I'm going to bend these hinges back and forth, get them working. And you can see as I keep doing that, it gets easier. They start doing it on their own. They're not fighting me. All right. Now, we're going to do the same thing that we did before we had our hinge in. We want to take this, roll this, and we want to slowly bring this up. Slowly. This is one you really got to go slow. And once it starts, you're just going to slowly bend her up. Again, just over 45 degrees. Bring her back down. We're going to do it the same thing to the other side. We're training as we're slowly coming up. Once we get to a certain spot, make sure the spine stays flat down, keeping your covers flat, and just slowly bending her up. Again, just over 45, and then bend her back. And congratulations, we have now completed our album. Our album is set and ready to go for our project. As we continue through our videos, I will be breaking down each of the steps. So, of course, in this one, we went through what we're going to use as our collection for our album so that we can decorate, make it beautiful. But we also constructed our own album. In our next video, I'm going to show how to make the base pages, those pages that fit over these hinges, how we create those. Now, we are not going to be connecting those until the very end because we need to add our flips, our flops, our pockets, our tucks, our magnets, all of those fun things that you see in other scrapbook albums. But you will see how we get them on there. I do like to decorate my pages prior to putting them on the hinge. I just find it works better for me. So the next video, we're going to show the base pages, and we're going to do the left and the right of the inside of our cover. In video number 3, we're going to do sides 1 and 2. Video number 4 we're going to do 3 and 4. Video number 5, 5 and 6. Video number 6, 7 and 8. On our 7th video, we are going to take care of our cover and our spine and adding all the beautiful decorations that we have there, using up still the paper collection, the ephemera, and some dies in our collection as well. And then the final video will be the flip through, where we get to see everything and how it looks once it's finished. I do hope you stay along with the series. I hope you're enjoying it so far. All the videos will be set up this way, recorded live, so that you will see all of the details. You will see the mistakes. We will work through the mistakes. And yes, we may have to start over, but we don't throw anything away. So always remember that. So I hope to see you in video number 2, where we will continue to build upon our scrapbook album featuring the collection Candy Kisses and many other items from Paper Rose. All the items that I will be using that I showed, and those items that I am using, will be listed down below in the video description. And if you have any questions, make sure you leave those down below as well, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Continue creating your art and enjoy the process. That is most important. But remember what is most important as well. Always be creative, guys, in everything that you do, and continue to stay safe and healthy. And we'll talk in the next one. Until then, take care.